Hi, good morning, everyone. So we are on our third week for this quarter, and I hope that you have a good morning, and I hope your morning is as bright as your smile. That's my wish for every session that we have. So before we proceed to the story, I would just like you to look at the screen, and my question here is, what is story made of? Like, how do you say that it is a story? So, I am talking about the components that makes a story a story. So, I want you to pause this video and think of the elements that made up a story. All right. After the thinking that you made or the brainstorming that you did, if your answer is this one, correct. So the first story or the first component of a story is, of course, characters. Look at the next picture, and that is, if you're thinking that it's a setting or a place, then that's correct. And then the last one here, if you're thinking that it's a plot, then it is. So if you got all of the three, then you have the knowledge about the topic that we're going to discuss today. All right. So let me read the title of today's discussion. So our topic for today is plot, setting, and characterization. So these are apart from the things that we have studied before, because um, these are not just for the language part, but it tackles about the literary aspect of the English language. All right. So the component, first component of a story is called characters. I want you to remember that. First component of a story is a character. Then let me read the description. Characters refers to the persons, creatures, or things serving as an actor or movers in the story. They portray specific roles with corresponding dialogues and plot lines. Now I have this question. If a certain character in the story is not a person, is that considered still a character? If your answer is yes, it's still a character. It's still a character, then you're correct. It doesn't mean that characters are just limited to persons. For example, in in the fables, we are using characters of animals that are talking, like the ant and the grasshopper, the lion and the mouse. They are considered characters because characters isn't just person. The real meaning of character are the actor or movers in the story. As long as they are moving in the story, then they are considered as characters. Alright, so there are two types of characters. The first type of character is called protagonist and antagonist. Alright, no, I have another question before we proceed to that. Ma'am, is, for example, from the story The Beauty and the Beast, we have Belle, right? And the characters there, we have Teacup, the clock, and di ba, si Mrs. Teapot, yon. If you have watched those, are they considered as characters? Yes, they are. They're considered as characters in the movie because they move in the story and they talk. As long as they have dialogues and they are part of the plot, then they are characters. All right, let's go back to the two types of characters. We have here protagonist and antagonist. When we say pro and anta, you call it prefixes. And in English, we have the word affixes. And there are two types of affixes. The first one is prefix, meaning those are the words that you attach before a word. And the second type is called suffixes. And those are the words that you attach at the end of the word. And in this example, protagonist and antagonist, they are called Okay, they are called prefixes. What do we mean when we say pro when we say, and when we say anta. So let's start with the obvious one. When we say pro, then of course, do you agree or not? For example, you are pro education, pro poor, then you are agreeing to that. Then when we say protagonist, these are the characters that we usually have our heart with. They are the bida in the story. So the next one is called anta from the word anti, meaning anti, not. So they are not at par with the characters that we love from the story. Okay, let me give you a teleserye about that. You remember Daniela and Romina. I don't know the whole story, but I just see them as I scroll in Facebook. So, protagonist, the protagonist there is who? Romina. And the antagonist there is Daniela. So I want you to picture that. Okay, that's the first, remember, first element of a story. A story is not considered a story if there's no character in the story. Yeah, I hope that's clear. Second one, we have a sub kind of character. So under character, okay, so we have the elements of the story. Number one, character. Sub, uh, the subtopic for character is called characterization. When we say characterization, this is from the word, okay, character. So, what is characterization, ma'am? Let me read. Characterization is a writer's tool or literary device that occurs anytime the author uses details to tell us about a person. I want you to remember that word, tell us about a person or tell us about a character. So this is used over the course of a story in order to tell the tale. Okay, I have here an example. Do you see the picture in the paragraph in the screen? So we have there Cinderella and her stepmother, Lady Tremaine. So this is the characterization that was used by the author. Let me read it. Cinderella's stepmother, Lady Tremaine, was cold, cruel, and jealous of Cinderella's charm and beauty. The second line, she enjoyed giving Cinderella extra chores to do, such as bathing her cat, Lucifer. So my question here is, what can you say about Lady Tremaine's relationship with Cinderella? What is the characterization that was used by the author to describe the relationship of this woman to the protagonist, Cinderella? So to answer this, is do Lady Tremaine love Cinderella? Does Lady Tremaine love Cinderella? Of course, the answer is no. How can you say that? Because of the characterization, because of the description called cruel and jealous. I hope that's clear. Okay, let's go to the second ingredient of a plot, of a story. Number one, we have character, and under character, we have characterization. Point number two is plot. What is a plot? A plot is, it shows how the author arranges events. That's the emphasis. Arrangement of events to develop the basic idea of the story. So typically, we have 5 parts of plot, and I'm not going to discuss the other 2 because they're much deeper. So let's just focus on this one. So I want you to notice the picture behind the graph. What do you see? It's a matchstick, right? The a palito in Tagalog. So the first part, the palito or the matchstick, is just a regular matchstick. In the middle, the matchstick is lit. Nag-aapoy yung palito. And then the last one is the palito or the matchstick is broken because it's almost used, it's drained. That is the same with plot. So we begin by having been introducing the characters, and then as we read the story, it progresses. It shows us what's the problem in the story. And then as we read or as we watch, there was this a sudden twist in the story. And then after that, we have falling, action, and then we have resolution. So those are beginning, middle, and end. Now, I want you to understand the parts of plot. So these are the parts of plot. The first part of plot is called exposition. When we say exposition, I'm going to use Cinderella's story because I cannot find anything that's a bit easy, and I have to find a lot of pictures about it, and this is what I saw in the internet, so I'm sorry. So the first part is exposition. This is the beginning, introduction of the story. When we say exposition, from the word expose, meaning we are exposing who the characters are, where is the setting, and stuff. So we say exposition, expose, introduction, beginning of the story. It says here, once upon a time, there was a kind girl named Cinderella. So a character was introduced and she is Cinderella. The second one, what's her characterization? She is a very good, kind girl. And as you can see in the picture, she is in the attic, in the bodega of their house. Okay. The second part, we have conflict or rising action. So, when we say rising action, marami kasing nalilito, ano bang pagkaiba-iba niya ng mga rising action and falling action? When we say rising action, it means that the action is risen, or the action in a certain movie is being rose up, or the conflict is being introduced. This is the part of the story where a problem or any form of struggle is seen in the story. Alright, so let's look at the picture at the first one. The first picture says that Cinderella was overjoyed when she saw the dress. So what's the problem here? So the Grand Duke, the prince wanted to organize a ball find so she could find her princess, her soon-to-be queen, and Cinderella wanted to go to the ball. What is the conflict or the struggle in the story? Look at the second picture. The sisters, what did they do? They ripped off her dress. All right. So before going to the third part of the plot, which is climax, I want you to understand the different kinds of conflict. So we have four kinds of conflict or struggle. The first one is character versus self. Um, this is a kind of conflict which is a struggle with own soul, with your own choice and physical limitation. So the best example for this one is Zeus from the story Iliad by Homer. So what is the story all about? So I'll tell you a glimpse of that. So, Zeus, basically, he's the king of the Olympus, and he has organized an event. Aries was uninvited to the event. So what she did was, she wanted to ruin the party. She threw a golden apple. The golden apple there was inscribed for the fairest. It means that para sa pinakamaganda. Of course, the goddesses of Olympus would grab that apple because they wanted to prove that, hello, I'm the prettiest and I'm the fairest of them all. So, the three goddesses there, Athena, Aphrodite, and Hera, wanted the apple, and they wanted Zeus to choose who do you think is the most beautiful among us. And Zeus was conflicted with his own self, with the physical limitation and choices. So that's what you call character versus self kind of conflict. The second one is character versus character. This is the easiest kind of conflict. Like the example here, it's Arachne and Athena from Greek mythology. So they are having weaving competition against each other. So character versus character, like Daniela versus Remina. So yun, character versus another character. The third one is character versus nature. It is a struggle against animals, weather, and environment. And the perfect example of this is Mr. Berman from the story The Last Leaf by O. Henry. So let me tell you a story about this. So John C is about to die because of pneumonia, and her only hope is to look at her window because there is a leaf there, and she thought to herself, when that leaf is about to fall, I know that I'm gonna be dead. So what did Mr. Berman do? He went outside. It's winter. It's snowing so hard, and he painted a leaf. So John C would think that, oh, the last leaf is not yet falling. And she would continue to live. And what's the result of that? Mr. Berman died because of cold. He died outside of the gate. So, character versus nature. The last one is character versus society. This is a struggle against ideas and customs of a specific society. For example, Robin Hood from the story The Merry Adventures of Robin Hood by Howard Pyle. So who is Robin Hood? He's a thief. And what he does, um, from he stole from rich families who are bad. But though he is pro-poor, his ideas about stealing is not or against the traditional customs, because if you wanted to help, what is the basic idea? If you wanted to help, it is through good deeds, right? But if you do bad deeds for the good, that's a different practice, I should say. All right, so going back to the story of Cinderella. So the climax is the turning point of the story. This is where Deus ex machina, or someone appears out of nowhere to restore the struggle in the story. When we say Deus ex machina, that means God of the machine. It means that um, it means that uh, someone will appear in the middle of nowhere and then give a whoosh whoosh blah 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 kind of thing. Like here, it says, Fairy Godmother said, Bibidi bobbidi boo, said the fairy godmother, waving her wand again. Cinderella was now wearing a beautiful gown and sparkling glass slippers. So she was able to go to the ball. She resolved her conflict about the prince, but she left her slipper because it's almost 12. The fourth part is falling action. So the falling action, this is where the resolution of the story begins. Okay, when we say rising action, it means rising of conflict. When we say falling action, this is the opposite. Falling action means this is where a solution is offered to the conflict in the rising action. So what's the solution? To find Cinderella by letting her fit a very small slipper as a glass slipper. So it says here, the prince sent the Grand Duke to find the girl who fit the glass slipper. Of course, we all know the story. It fitted on her because she has a small shoe size. And then the last part of a plot is called denouement, or resolution, or conclusion. This is the final outcome of story. Denouement is a French word meaning a knot. So it means that in the first part of the story, everything is not, or like buhol, nabuhol siya. But for the denouement, it is unraveled. So there will be a smooth ending of the story. So what's the first ingredient of a story? We have character. The second is plot. So under plot, we have 5 parts. The first part is exposition, rising action, where conflict is introduced, climax, the turning point of the story, falling action, where the solution is being offered to the conflict in the rising action, and the last part is the denouement, or the final. Is it a happy or sad ending? For this case, this is a happy ending. All right, let's go to the last part of the ingredient of a story. It's called setting. So setting, it refers to the time and location when and where the story took place or takes place. So people, when we say, regularly people would think, setting, at ano lang yan, lugar. No, setting is more than that. Let me show you. Setting is not just a place, but we have to consider multiple aspects to consider finding the setting of the story. Like number one, place, geographical location. Where's the story? Where did the story happen? Number two, the time. Where did the story happen? What historical period? Is it Middle Ages? Is it the time of Rizal? Is it the time of the revolution in the Philippines? Is it in the Philippines or not? So time of day and year and historical period. So setting is a place, a time, third, weather condition. Is it rainy, sunny, stormy? Is it autumn, fall, spring, winter? Four, social conditions. What is the daily life of the characters like? So um, are they poor? Are they rich? Are they powerful? Or are they not? Number five, mood or the atmosphere. What feeling is created at the beginning of the story? Is the story exciting? Is the story sad? Is the story happy? So those are all are multiple aspects to consider in finding the setting. Now let me walk you through the learning tasks in your worksheets. Okay, so listen to me. This is what you're going to do in your worksheet. Lesson 3, plot, setting, and characterization. Match column A with column B. I want you to look in page 15 of the module. Look at the screen. So there it is, answers only. You have to connect. For example, number 1, exposition. What's the meaning of that? You have to choose in column B. So is that the location of the story? Is that the beginning of the story? Is that the turning point of the story? Something like that. Special task 1. So you are tasked to read the story of Orpheus. And I'm gonna give you a different video about that. So Orpheus, and you can search in YouTube. There's a lot of video lessons about this story. This is a very short story. It will take you around 5 to 10 minutes. Sobrang konti lang nito. I want you to read that and answer who are the characters of the story, what is the setting of the story, and what are the conditions social conditions being portrayed in the story. So, is Orpheus a god, a demigod? Something like that. Is he powerful or not? What's his powers? Okay, next, learning task 5. I want you to flip your module on page 17 and just choose. Ma'am, letter lang po, opo, letter lang po ang sasagot ninyo. Wala nang iba. So, I want you to read that. For example, number 1, characterization is A, central part of the story. B, problem in a story. C, process by which a writer reviews a character's personality. Or D, color of the character's costume. Did we even study that? So that's what you're going to do. Just choose one. I discussed that. You can replay the video if you forgot. Next is, I want you to create a flowchart about the plot of Orpheus. So just read it and that's it. So this is what a flowchart is. Ma'am, pwede po ba magdagdag ng box? Yes, pwedeng magdagdag ng box. Ma'am, kailangan po ba 5 lang? Hindi. Kung hanggang ilan ang gusto nyong magawa dyan. But I don't want you to copy it from that. I want you to write your own words. Kahit mali-mali ang grammar, it's okay. That's why I'm here as your teacher, because I want you to have have a competent grammatical skills. I will correct that in a loving way. Don't be afraid. Okay, next. I want to end this session with this quotation. It says here, it always seems impossible until it's done. It's by Nelson Mandela. So what does it mean? Sometimes we think of things that, it's so hard naman, ang hirap naman mag-aral kasi modular, ang hirap naman kasi wala kaming resources, wala kaming printer, wala kaming lahat. So it seems impossible. But if you strive hard, if you really wanted to graduate with flying colors or like give your best to graduate in junior high, you can only push yourself. Because ikaw lang makaisip na halimbawa, natatamad ka. It's about you. Kung pipiliin mong tamarin or hindi. But it's never impossible to reach your dream if you're going to do something about it. So, syempre, hindi naman kayo gagraduate hindi kayo nagsasagot ng module. Diba? So that's just it. I hope we will have a wonderful day today, and God bless you on our next video. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.